Hello, I'm Jacob Nordby with Awaken Safely channel. Thanks for rejoining me here. We had beginnings of a conversation last week where I talked about a hot mess of evolution, global and personal, and that led to a tremendous amount of conversation both here on YouTube and also on Facebook and Twitter, various places. This actually sparked off really neat conversation, which I'm extremely grateful to be part of right now. So I've actually shot a number of videos since then in response as a follow-up or part 2 of that, and none of them quite hit the target for me, so I have refrained from posting those until today. I've been studying some really fascinating literature lately, and it's been right along the lines of all of this information that I'm bringing to you and this conversation we're having around the virtual campfire here. So one of the books I've been reading lately is called The Farther Reaches of Human Nature by Abraham Maslow. And as you know, Maslow was a fascinating scientist, psychiatrist, and studied human potential and what he called self-actualization. But we're not going to go there today just yet. We're going to talk about that at some length later. But right now I want to talk about potential energy. Potential energy. Last week we talked about evolution and how it appears that the globe, human beings everywhere, appear to be feeling having a similar sense that things are changing, that things are weird, that things are shifting, that there's a momentum building, something like that. So without getting too dogmatic about what we call that, it appears that there is a relatively common human experience right now where folks are saying, yes, something's going on, we don't know what. So we could get into those factors, and I actually intend to do that as we move forward with this conversation. I want to talk to you about some of what I see playing into what's going on with some of that, the crumbling of old bastions of power, religion, politics, and the financial systems or business. When you have those things in a state of transformation or crumble or decay or whatever you want to call it, people are left to their own devices in a large way, and they are called upon then to discover new answers where the old ones no longer work. So we'll talk about that in a little while. But what I want to talk about today is this term, and it's a physics term. It's called potential energy. And those of you who study physics and really understand about this much more than I do will know that the term potential energy applies in many different ways. For example, a chunk of wood has potential energy in it, which is released, say, when we light that wood on fire. Suddenly it has energy, and a chunk of wood has more potential energy to release than, say, a bale of hay. And a chunk of coal of the same size of the chunk of wood would have even more potential energy to release than the other. So that's one application of this term, potential energy. And it'll be fun to have some of you who know more about this reply to this video and talk more about this. But what I want to apply this to today is the idea of potential energy when it comes to being, say, at the top of a mountain, or even better for this illustration, potential energy as it applies to waves, all right, waves. So we've all heard about or read about the tsunamis that have been happening around the world, and some of the really big devastating ones that have wiped out entire populations of villages and things like that. Really devastating effect. Well, that is an example of potential energy. So let's look back over the course of human history and realize that human consciousness seems to follow a similar pattern to it goes in wave forms, it goes in rhythms, and it follows the law of the rhythm of the universe, right? So we can observe that, and if we look back, we can actually look and see some high water marks in the course of human development, in the course of progress here. There are some high water marks. There's the Renaissance, there's the Greek revival, there's various times when human beings had this explosion of knowledge and technology and the creative expression, art, literature, various ways that people were expressing themselves. There were these explosions of that. And then, so we have those high points, generally speaking, followed not that long after by a big slide into a low point. And the low points were times when maybe not much happened, or what appeared to be a lot of negative stuff happened. Wars, mass death in some way. And so What I want to point out is that it appears to me that humanity is moving into, has been moving and growing this wave to reach a new high water mark, a new high point in the consciousness wave. And it feels to me like, because of the factors that are at play right now, which have never been in place before in recorded history of mankind, we're actually reaching a high water mark which has never been reached before. And we're going to talk about that later. Not in this broadcast, but in a later broadcast. But what I want to mention today is this idea of potential energy. So, potential energy says that an object, for example, will have more energy when it is higher than when it's, say, on ground level, right? So, if you take a skier and put them at the top of a mountain, they have more potential energy because of the gravitational pull on their body. They can actually achieve great speed and move through the field very, very quickly. All right. Well, that's because they have this potential energy. They exerted energy to get to the top of the mountain. Now they have this potential energy, which balances that out. Much more potential energy, say, than if they were sitting at the bottom of the mountain. So, what I want to say today is that each one of us in this wave, okay, using the water metaphor now, in this wave, each one of us represents a particle, a molecule, if you will, that's part of this mass wave. All right. Well, let's say that the wave now is reaching a point which humanity has never reached before, which means to me that we have more potential energy than ever before. You have more potential energy, more power, more potential to do work, to achieve something. You have more potential energy now than you ever have had, than any other human being has had in the history of time. We don't have any stories of human beings reaching this particular level of consciousness as we have right now. So I want to suggest to you that we have enormous responsibility, enormous opportunity. Humans living right now. We're in a special time on Earth. We have enormous opportunity to exert and take advantage of this potential energy. We also have enormous potential to create destruction. So up here at the top of the wave, we have the potential to direct that energy in enormously powerful, positive ways, more so than ever before in the history of mankind. We also have a flip side power, potential of exerting that force in even more negative ways than ever before in the history of mankind. So I suggest to you here that if we care about the world, if we care about our place in it, if we care about what's going on, that the greatest gift we can give this planet is to wake up and walk in love. The greatest gift we can offer the planet is for each of us individuals to wake up to our potential energy, to our potential, what lies within, and exert it intentionally for good. The greatest gift you can give the planet is to awaken and walk in love. Thanks for watching. Let's keep talking.